Kevin Scott, thanks for doing this interview with us, mate. Just really want to talk about Kevin Keegan and the effect that he had at Newcastle United, first and foremost. I mean, you were at the club from 1984 to 1994. I guess you remember Kevin flying off in the helicopter.
Yeah, like you said, I was probably just a supporter then when all that happened. I came in just after with Jack Charlton. But like you said, it was exciting times when he did come. We had a lot of transition. Lots of managers came and left before Keegan come, and before it seemed to settle the boat a little bit.
When Kevin came back as a manager, it was a strange situation, wasn't it? I mean, Ozzy Ordilas had been at the club, and he brought on the youngsters. So first of all, let's talk about the youngsters that came through. We often talk about the class of '92 being Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham, Lee Sharp. But at Newcastle, we had Lee Clark, Steve Howie, Steve Watson, Alan Nielsen, Robbie Elliott. There was a David Roach, Alan Thompson. all of them young'uns coming through. We had our own class of '92, didn't we?
We did, right. I said, I think the academy at the time, I can remember when I came in when I was 18, it was Gazza and Joe Allen, Ian Bogie, Paul Stevenson. So the academy had like a great thing going at the time. Then obviously a couple of years later, Colin Sugar was still running the academy before he got his chance of being a manager for a short space of time. But he seemed to bring all the young lads on and everything. So there was a lot of like northern talent actually came through the books at Newcastle.
Would you say Newcastle were probably the top dogs in that respect at the time, as opposed to Sunderland and Middlesbrough?
I think so. Like I said, just at the time, I think the team I was in with Gazza and everybody, we won the league, we won the FA Youth Cup, then we went to Enschede and we won the biannual competition there. But like you said, with Joe Allen up front, scoring all the goals and everything, Gazza providing, we had a fantastic team. But even from that team, the goalkeeper, Gary Kelly, like you said, there was loads of us came through and actually played for the first team at some point.
Obviously, at Newcastle when Keegan came back, he'd been on the golf course for 7 years in Marbella. He hadn't been studying coaching manuals. He hadn't been in any other jobs, and it was a shock, I guess, for the supporters, but a big shock for the players. What did you think when you heard the news that Kevin Keegan was coming back as manager?
I thought it was a joke at first, to be fair. Like you said, nobody had mentioned anything. There was nothing in the newspapers. There was absolutely nothing about it. But like you said, once he turned up on the day, it was obviously realisation kicks in, and the buzz from the supporters just went right through the club, to be fair. All the players were excited, and yeah, it's just like it is now at the club. There's that buzz when you go up there on a Saturday. There's something special, and you knew something special was going to happen.
I've been sent a bit of footage. It's about half an hour long, and it's a very early training session. You're on there. Benny Christiansen's on there. Brian Kilcline, Rob Lee. Kevin's on there, obviously taking the training session. I mean, what was your first recollections of those early training sessions with Kevin?
I think it was, well, obviously coming from Ozzy Ordilas, Ozzy was just, all he wanted to do was play. It was play. Whether we were getting beat 4-3, it was 4-4. And some of the results we were getting were absolutely crazy. Keegan came in, and obviously when he brought Kilcline in as well, and he put me at the back with him, and all of a sudden, and Barry Venison just tightened everything up. And then obviously Steve Howie came back there as well, and it just, like you said, it was just a little bit more organised. And I think the best thing he did was bring Derry Fazakli in. He was obviously a defender himself when he played, and he just had that balance between him and Terry Mack messing around with the strikers, Rob Lee and Andy Cole and all them, and then Derry Fazakli sorting out the back four really.
What was your first impression of Kevin Keegan and Terry McDermott?
I thought it was brilliant at first, to be fair. Like you said, all he wanted was the best for the club. I know he took the captaincy offers and give it to Killer, but that was fine. Like you said, that that was like a little bit of a pressure off me, really, because the season before, when we almost went down, obviously it was something the club was fearing more than anything when we just managed to stay up with Keegan there. And that summer he took it off because my contract was up. So I went all that summer without a contract and everything. I think he called me and I think it was Gavin Peacock. The two of us didn't sign our contracts because it was literally on deadline day when he tried to get us to sign them. And unfortunately, I can't read very well, so I never actually signed the contract because I wouldn't have took a chance on signing it. He took the captaincy offers, but I held nothing against him for that. But to move forward the season after the way we started that season, it was incredible. And like you said, it was all to do with the fans, I think. And I think he thought that as well, Keegan. I think he just pulled all the fans along with him. The training ground was open for people to come in and watch. Some days there was like hundreds and possibly thousands there watching.
How did you find that?
I think it just highlights everything you want in trains. I love training sessions. I enjoy training sessions more than the game, to be fair, because it gives you the chance not to just play at the back. You get a chance to score goals, go forward, and Keegan was all about that. He wanted the excitement. He wanted to entertain the fans, and he'd even joined in himself. Him and Terry Mack have many a time chucking themselves around in the puddles and diving in on tackles and stuff. So yeah, it was great.
Just going back to that season, we did nearly go down. The first game that Kevin took charge against Bristol at St James's Park. I mean, bearing in mind you'd been playing, to negativity, you'd playing in front of people who were probably booing and shouting and bawling and moaning and groaning. What was it like to walk into the ground that day, see queues round the block, the full house signs go up, and then walking onto the pitch and hearing that atmosphere for the first time?
Like I said, obviously we go back and watch the games now, but then you had to literally park your car and walk through the crowds to get into the stadium, and it was different. And the like you said, it's hard to imagine. It took nearly 20 minutes to get into the ground. So some days you had to get there a little bit earlier just to try and, I'm not saying avoid the crowd, but just to get a chance to get in and settle yourself down before the game started. And it was all to do with Keegan and Terry Mack, really.
The two other games that stand out that season: Portsmouth at home, David Kelly's goal, which kept us up. What was it like that particular game? It's a long story. This one, to be fair, that was the day my son was born, my first son. I actually made my wife go to the game in labour because I got sent off at Derby County. There was 3 of us got sent off. And I can remember Keegan saying, "You owe this club, you owe me." And I just thought on the morning, "Oh no, I've got to go at the game." And Chris Guthrie, the kit man, him and his wife just made sure everything went clean and safe in the players' lounge while we played the game. But the atmosphere was incredible, and like you said, I think it was David Kelly. He just never stopped running. It was absolutely brilliant results, and then obviously we had to go to Leicester, the last game of that season, and get something as well. Yeah, that Leicester game was epic. I was there. I've still got my ticket from that particular game. I mean, if everyone had been there who said they'd been there would have been about 150,000 Geordies there. But it was a hell of a day, wasn't it? That, and I mean, obviously at the end we didn't really need to win to stay up, but we didn't know that at the time going into that game.
No, like you said, it was a lot of pressure. We didn't know anything, and obviously, when the final result went and you knew you were staying up, it was a massive relief because, like you said, the club was on the way up, and we didn't need to take a step back at that moment in time. You needed to keep going forward with what he brought to the club.
You've already mentioned it, the following season, the promotion season as it is, 92-93, we got off to a hell of a start, didn't we? Could you quite believe, were you pinching yourself as each game went by with those kind of results going in, as a fan, I guess, as well as being a part of the squad?
I think so. Like you said, at first you expect it to be strong at home, but like you said, just the way the season started, every time it wasn't just the home games, it was the away games, the atmosphere, the supporters that were turning up. I remember getting cheered off the bus and everything. It literally just started instantly from the beginning of that season. But like you said, when you're walking into the ground and you feel as though you're not going to lose, it's a lovely feeling. You don't get that very often in your career, but at that moment in time, it was fantastic.
What was a typical Kevin Keegan team talk like?
I think it was a blend of two things. I think he's obviously had the teams watched and studied a little bit, but a lot of it was trying to play to our strengths. Obviously, we had the likes of Andy Cole, Peter Beasley, and people like that, and David Kelly, and like you said, Gavin Peacock at the time was absolutely flying as well. And then you had the likes of Rob Lee and all them came in, and this team just got stronger and stronger and stronger. So I think we played more to our strengths than the other team's strengths.
I mean, obviously, all good runs come to an end. I think it was Grimsby at home, and I think it was Dobbin with the goal.
Believe it or not, Grimsby. I can remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. What was there a sense of deflation in the dressing room, or was it we'll just go again kind of attitude?
I think it was just go again. I think we were that strong mentally. I think because obviously the start we had, we obviously were well cleared, so we weren't looking over our shoulders, and it was just a case of foot to the floor and keep going. I think the chairman at the time was just. He was showing up quite often on away trips. He was travelling on the plane with us sometimes when we came back on the plane, and he was the same. He was buzzing. It was just go go go.
Which players do you think made a difference in that promotion season? I mean, you played 45 games that season, but which of the players that came in do you think made a big difference? Of course, we had Barry Venison then, we had Paul Bracewell.
Yeah, like you said, I think there was a blend from going from Aussie being there, where it was just, I think I was the oldest, and I was only about 24 in the team at one point. Obviously, you've got likes of Kevin Sheedy, even people like that all came in, and everybody had a part to play. And Barry Venison, Paul Bracewell, who'd obviously played for top clubs at the time, and Brace obviously I think he had a double possibly with Everton. So people like that, when they come in, that they do have an effect, and right around the club, even like some of the trips you go away and you listen to their stories and stuff like that, and it starts to make you believe, and I think the club needed that.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. Which games in that season stood out for you, Kevin?
That's a hard one. To be fair, it was probably the last game of the season, the Leicester game. When everything was already done, because we beat Grimsby away and we knew we were promoted then, which was weird losing to Grimsby the first game we lost in that season to actually win promotion there. But the last game of the season, the atmosphere, the buzz, it was incredible. Like you said, even from after the game, it didn't really stop the celebration. It just went on and went on, probably for a couple of days till I think we really calmed down the night before the open top bus. I think it took us that long to all calm down.
Tell us about that. What was it like as a Newcastle fan, being on an open top bus, driving through the city centre, getting to the civic centre, and just being part of that? What was that like?
It's very similar as now. It was black and white everywhere. It doesn't matter where you look, which shop you looked in, which bar you looked in, which house you looked in. Everything was black and white all the way through. And I can even remember the kit man hanging from a tree. I forget what he's called now. One of the kit men, and he's almost in the bus with us. It was special. Like you said, just the build up, and to just actually appreciate how the fans came out and the town came out, really, which is incredible.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was fantastic. I've got to ask you about the Sunderland game. To go down to Sunderland in that run at the start of the season, it's got to be special winning a derby match.
It has, yeah. Like you said, we had the problem when we had the chance to play them in the playoffs, and we got beat at St James's 2-1 when we drew at their place with Jim Smith when he was manager. And I think that was the only time I got beat off Sunderland in all the time I was at Newcastle, even in the youth. But like you said, the atmosphere when we went down there with Liam O'Brien and things like that, some of the goals, and like you said, Keegan made a big thing of it as well. He tended to keep us in the hotel the night before, just to make us aware that it was a big game, and it was always about the supporters. It was always about the supporters, those games.
The end of the season saw David Kelly leave and saw Gavin Peacock leave, both for completely different reasons. Gavin Peacock left because of personal reasons, of course. David Kelly left because Kevin wanted to bring in Peter Beardsley. Was it a shock here to see those kind of players go out and to see somebody like Peter coming back to the club?
It was a big shock at first, but like you said, especially when you just got promoted, you think the team would stick together a little bit. But obviously, Keegan had different ideas that he wanted to progress and move the club forward. Like you said, I think we hadn't even got away from the end of season trip, and some of the lads knew they were on the way. And yeah, it was a bit of a shock, but to bring Peter back was probably similar to bringing him when he came back. Keegan came back. Just everybody, he still had a few good years in him, and you knew what he was going to bring to the club. And even Peter for the young lads. Like I said, I remember when I first came to the club, and he was there the first day I came in, and he had his football boots, trainers, and everything waiting for us. And I never met him before in my life, and it needs somebody like that to galvanise the older players and the young players, I think.
Andy Cole signed at the back end of the promotion season, and I've spoken to him about his time at the club, and very, very, very humble guy. Basically said that the job had been done before he got there. He played a small part in the promotion season, but I mean, what effect did he have? I mean, he got the ball and he scored a goal, as the song went, Kevin.
That's right. We played against them. I think we played. It was Bristol. Was it Bristol?
Bristol City.
We played against them just a couple of weeks before we bought him, and I can remember watching him warm up, and there was a few words that he might be coming and stuff like that. But when he turned up on Newcastle, like you said, the start he had, and it was never ending really. The goals, and like you said, you've obviously got Peter Bees, who's one of the best providers, who made some other strikers famous, like Gary Lineker and people like that. But yeah, he did absolutely brilliant for Andy Cole. But like you said, to come to a club and actually start when everything's on the up must have been great for him. But he didn't let the side down, didn't let the team down, definitely didn't let himself down.
No, definitely not. Got to ask you about the goals you scored. You scored a couple of goals in the promotion season, yeah?
Yep.
Who did you score against?
That's a good question. I'm a bit old and I forgot now.
Can you remember? No, you can't remember.
I can remember Wolves. I can remember a header against Wolves. I think it was about 18 yards out. We beat Wolves 1-0 away. And Molyneux, that was probably the one I can remember. The best goal I can remember scoring was obviously on my debut. When I was Jack Charlton, I think Joe Allen scored on his home debut as well. I think we both scored and we got beat 3-2. So I do remember some of the goals. That's right, yeah. I do remember some of the goals, but obviously getting a little bit older now. But yeah, I can remember the Molyneux one. Away from home, we won 1-0. So yeah, it was... It's nice when you're talking about it, to be fair. It just brings back memories.
You got the opportunity to play in the Premier League for Newcastle. I think a lot of people forget that, and you played 18 games in that season before you left to join Tottenham. But what was it like just getting back into the Premier League? Was there a different feel? Was there a different feel to it? Was it? Could you feel it slightly harder, or did the fact that we brought Peter Beardsley in that was it just an easy transition for you?
I think it's obviously harder because obviously even as a player you still tend to watch Match of the Day and stuff like that and watch the Premier League games and you see all the top players, and just to get the chance to play against them, it's like a dream come true really, and to manage to do it with a team where you've got a chance to play against, a chance to win them, and like you said, it didn't take us long to get our feet set on the ground and start pushing into the Premier League.
How did the move come about then? How did the move to Tottenham come about? What did Kevin say to you? How did he broach the subject?
To be fair, he was quite cutthroat. To be fair, I was bought a house, hadn't even lived in it, and he called us in. And I thought, "What's up here? Something's up." I got to the stadium and he had his hand on the phone and he just said, "I've decided to sell you. I've got someone on the phone you might want to talk to. If you stay, you're going to be fourth choice." So I'd gone from being in the first team to probably being fourth choice. So I thought he must be buying players. And on the phone when he handed over was Ozzy. So Ozzy just asked us to fly down, have a chat with him in a hotel, and basically that was it. But like I said, Keegan, I think he was similar with Liam O'Brien. He is quite cutthroat, and David Kelly, when he thinks your time's up, your time's up, and he lets you know, I think, because he obviously got his ideas how he'd want to make the club move forward.
As a fan, you'll have continued to watch Newcastle as your own career played out. 95-96, 12 points clear against Manchester United, ended up finishing second. As a fan, why do you think Newcastle didn't win the Premier League that year?
I think it was expectations. I think because they were ahead, and I just think the pressure's an awful thing, especially when it's a negative pressure. All the other time the club have been moving forward, and all of a sudden that when it starts going back slightly, it's a different pressure, and I think it just got to the team at the time.
You played at Newcastle for 10 years. You never got a testimonial, Kevin. In testimonial were things then. Was there any reason you didn't get one?
I had, because I was a few months short, apparently. I actually had it wrote into my contract that I would get one. Oh. But Kevin Keegan saw that I think I was about 3 or 4 months short. So I didn't actually see that contract out, so I never got the testimonial.
You played for Jim Smith, you played for Willie McFall, Ozzy Ardiles, Jack Charlton, obviously, and Kevin Keegan. Which was your favourite manager to play for?
Well, obviously, what happened with Keegan was absolutely fantastic. But as a man's manager and a player, I loved Jim Smith. I absolutely, he was a man's man. You could join and train, you could smash him, and he'd square up to you, and it was all forgot. It was nothing personal, and his team talks, and as a defender he'd had every team watched. He knew everything, who you were playing against, and he used to have a sweat on when he was giving his team talks in the hotel before we travelled, and the sweat was running off his forehead and everything, and he's suited up, and he was that passionate about it, and I loved that as a defender. It made some things a little bit easier about man-to-man marking and where the zonal defending, then all of a sudden where the balls go on the free kicks and corners, and he had everything watched. But like you said, when Keegan was there, just everything was on the up, so it was a little bit easier. I think I don't know what would have happened with Jim Smith if we had got promoted that time when we played Sunderland, because we all knew Sunderland done like something a little bit, not Sunderland, Swindon done something a little bit dodgy, so whoever won our game we thought had possibly had a chance to get straight in the Premiership.
What was Willie McFall like? I often found that a strange appointment, but I mean, he came in, he got a lot of money to spend. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out for him. What was he like?
He was good man management. But like you said, he spent a lot of money. I think he spent a lot on the Wimbledon players, didn't he? I think.
He signed Dave Besson, Andy Thorne, Glyn Hodges.
Yeah, and
John Henry.
There was the little John Henry, and there was a little Scotch striker.
John Robertson.
That's him, John Robertson. He only played, I think he had more games when we travelled away to Jamaica, I think, than he played in the first team. But yeah, he did have some money to spend, and like you said, there was some big names came. I got dropped out of the team when Andy Thorne came, so I dropped out a little bit until he got injured. And I think that was the making of us, to be fair. Once you know you're not in the first team squad and you're thinking, right, I know I'm good enough, I know I can play, and I think that was a kick in my backside that made us realise that I want to be in the first team and not just at the club.
Jack Charlton, certainly man who split opinions, not everyone's favourite gaffer, and a lot of people say that he was, he did often just go fishing, and that was that. What was Big Jack like?
Very similar. I turned up to sign my contract. I was working in a paper factory in Hetton, and I travelled up with my dad and a fella called Geordie Walker that used to run the team I played for, Elton, to sign a contract and everything. And I got there and I was told Jack was out fishing, so did all the contract talks, and I think they offered us £90 a week at the time. And I said, I cannot sign for that. And my dad was shocked, and Geordie Walker was shocked. And I said, I earn more in the factory. And I says, I've got to get here. And I can remember the secretary went off, and then Joe Harvey came back in, and he said, what's up? Because I think he'd seen us play for Durham County, and I think it was him who sent the scouts out. And he says, what's up? And I said, well, I've offered us £90. I said, I earn more in the... And he said, bus pass, and they got us a bus pass, so I got £90 a week and a bus pass. Swung it to sign when I was 18. So Jack Charlton, when I got in the first team, he was absolutely brilliant. Like you said, he doesn't think much about forwards. All he thinks about is how to stop the other team playing. So as a defensive-minded player, you learned a lot from him. I think even when you watch Ireland, when they had the run, he just knew how to stop the other teams playing. But he always had an outlet of a tall man up front. I think he bought Billy Whitehurst came in, and
George Riley, Tony Cunningham.
George Riley, yeah, he always seemed to have like the big striker up front, which was obviously, if you look back at now, everybody thinks that's old school, but that's the time of it's the way people played.
Might as well ask you about Ozzy. I mean, Ando doesn't speak very highly of him. Did you get on okay with Ozzy? Obviously, he took you to Spurs.
I liked Ozzy, to be fair. He did give us the captaincy, but he called us in, and all he wanted to do was play football. I was the first manager, I think, that ever asked us to actually try and play from the back or anything like that. And like you said, in the youth team that was coming through, David Roach and Lee Clark and them, they were well comfortable in possession of the ball and everything. So it was great at the time. But like you said, some of the results, when you're scoring 4 goals and you're coming away and you've only drawn and things like that, that was probably the downside for Ozzy.
When you went to Spurs, and I presume Norwich, you'll have played again. Did you play against Newcastle?
I never got the chance. No,
right.
I was at Tottenham. I came back and I was injured, so I was just in the stand watching. That was the only time. I never got the chance to play against them. I was at Charlton on loan. They played them in the FA Cup, and Tottenham wouldn't let us play in case I got cup tied. So yeah, there was a couple of times I had a chance, but missed it.
Favourite game you played for Newcastle?
Like I said, it's got to be that Leicester game. And when the promotion year, that last game of the season, it was just a dream. They finished it on TV in a home crowd, and all the goals. It was just a big round off to the whole of that season. It was just pure celebration. That was probably my favourite game, my best game.
Last question, just about the supporters. How important are the supporters to Newcastle United when you're a player?
I think it's incredible. Like you said, even when you're not a player, I'm go up now sometimes to do the talks in the boxes, and even the reaction I get going back now is incredible. But the players, like you said, when they come out and they all respond to the fans, and the fans of everything. For Newcastle, to be fair, the way things must hate coming to St James's. Even just trying to get into the stadium, they must hate it, because the crowd, you can see it. It's the whole town's buzzing, and they've just got to keep it that way. And fingers crossed that, like I said, I know they've got a big game tonight for Europe, so fingers crossed they can win tonight.
Yeah, Kevin Scott, thanks very much.